Hello, and thank you for watching this Ag Forecast for the Corn Belt. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. We've got high pressure moving in across the Corn Belt, and that's going to set us up for a chillier start to the weekend, especially across the central and eastern portions of the region. We'll start warming up across the Dakotas and the High Plains, but dry conditions expected for just about everyone here over the next 5 to 7 days, if not a little bit longer here, as we really just bring a dry air mass, a dry and quiet air mass over the central U.S. The radar picture is quiet today unless you look at the periphery of the lower 48 here. Some rain from the Pacific Northwest where they badly need it. Some showers coming in across portions of central California. Tropical system disorganized in the Gulf. And then we've got Sally departing here with showers departing the mid-Atlantic this morning as well. So the periphery of the lower 48 has some precip going on. The central U.S. quiet. It has been quiet over the last 72 hours. We're looking at total precipitation over the last 3 days. Again, here is Sally and all of its heavy precipitation. We've got some moisture here across parts of central and eastern Texas, and then we've got a tropical system down there in the Gulf, but quiet elsewhere across the lower 48 over the last several days. And then this is the next 7 days of forecast precipitation across the lower 48, and again, you see it, Pacific Northwest, badly needed precipitation. The Gulf Coast, we don't necessarily need anything going on down there, but we do have a disorganized system down there that is eventually going to be bringing some precipitation to at least coastal regions before potentially making its way into the southern U.S. mid to late this week. But we have nothing as far as organized precipitation makers here across the central part of the country. Here's what's going on with temperatures then. Again, as we go through the next 5 days, a little bit cooler than average on the eastern half of the Corn Belt here. We will start warming back up here, warm and dry across the high plains here as we head into the weekend and early next week. So here's a look at the jet stream at 500 millibars as we get started on Friday morning. This is our big departing trough. This is the one that has brought in the most recent round of cold air to the Great Lakes and the eastern Corn Belt. On the back side of that, we've got another wave that's been kind of meandering around off the Pacific coast. That one's getting a nudge from a third developing trough here across the Aleutian Islands, going to be developing in the Gulf of Alaska. That is giving this wave a nudge here. So as I just kind of take all the drawings I've done off of here and take it into the weekend, you'll see what happens. We'll go ahead and pause this, bring it back. There we go. So as this wave departs, this wave starts to move in from the west. On the backside of that colder air, we're actually going to build some ridging into the region. So as we get into the weekend here, this is Saturday night into Sunday, starting to warm back up. It'll be a little bit slower here across the eastern Corn Belt, but starting to bring some of that warmer air back in across the high plains as we get into the weekend. This little trough is trying to swing through here, but it's going to be moisture starved, and I'll show you why I'm not expecting much in the way of precipitation from this wave. We're looking at the precipitable water forecast. So I show this map a lot. We're looking at the moisture depth within the atmosphere. Basically, if you looked straight up, how much moisture could you wring out of the atmosphere? And as I go ahead and hit play here, we're going to see this front that just cleared the area is basically taking all of the deep moisture down to the Gulf Coast. So we've got this huge frontal boundary doing something like, not like that, a little bit more like this, where we've got all this dry air coming out of Canada, making it all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Here comes our little wave out of the Pacific Northwest right here. It's bringing some Pacific moisture with it, but really moisture starved. And the second reason for that, we've got our front that cleared the area. We've also got this little tropical low that's just, and we're watching it for development, but at the very least, it's keeping all the moisture locked in down here. Instead of allowing deep moisture to advect northward in advance of this storm system across the northern plains, instead of doing that, we're just kind of wrapping the deep moisture around here and keeping it parked in the Gulf of Mexico. So even as, a couple fronts try and crash through the area this weekend, and then again during the middle part of next week, it's crashing into a dry air mass that simply is not conducive to, real organized precipitation. So the jet stream tries to get excited here mid to late next week. It's only going to be able to bring in shots of cooler air to the central and eastern Corn Belt. We're not going to be talking about anything in the way of organized precipitation over, again, at least the next 5 to 7 days, if not a little bit longer here across some of the Corn Belt. Let's go ahead and take a look at temperatures then. Again, we'll be seeing some shots of cooler air, especially across the Great Lakes and the eastern Corn Belt. As you head off toward the north and the west, we'll hold on to a little bit more of a warmer bias across the Dakotas, back into the high plains. It's a dry air mass, so it's easy to warm up here. So we're not talking about, warm and muggy. We're talking about warm and dry, breezy at times as some of these systems make their way through the northern plains and the Canadian prairie. But here we go. We're going through the weekend. Here's this recent shot of cool air. It'll be real chilly here Friday and Saturday across Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, up into lower Michigan. Slowly warming up as we head into the early part of next week, but watching for maybe another shot or two of some cooler air across at least the Great Lakes and the Eastern Corn Belt as we head into the middle and late part of next week. So you look at the precipitation forecast, again, a big area of high pressure over the central part of the country right now, keeping it dry through the weekend and into next week. We'll watch what happens with this little tropical low. That could have some influence and maybe some moisture making its way into the mid-south as we get into the mid and late part of next week, but still very little idea what's going on with this thing down here in the Gulf, whether it's going to make its way ashore here in East Texas or eventually hook back over here towards the Great Lakes. Here's the big system making its way through the northern plains, through the Canadian Prairie this weekend. No moisture to work with, though, so some showers expected across the Canadian Prairie. Maybe some very light showers across the northern periphery of the Corn Belt here through North Dakota into northern Minnesota and Wisconsin. We're quiet then with high pressure holding on all the way through the mid part of the next week when maybe we get another wave making its way over the top of the ridge here, bringing some very light precipitation, again, to the northern periphery of the Corn Belt. Central and eastern Corn Belt remaining dry here over the next 7 days. This is a look just at the raw output, the next 7 days of total precipitation from the European operational model. And again, maybe some light moisture here with that weekend system across the northern periphery of the U.S. I'm talking about northern North Dakota, northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin. Otherwise, a big gap here from the central high plains through the midsection of the Corn Belt all the way into the northeast where things look dry over the next 7 days. Breezy at times, again, especially across parts of the high plains, the Canadian Prairie. Our first little wave makes its way through here, especially on Sunday. Could see some breezy winds out of the south in advance of that and strong winds out of the west, perhaps gusting anywhere from 20 to 30 knots at times. So, nothing wild, but certainly starting to transition toward a more autumn-like pattern across the Corn Belt. Here are your highs for the day today. Again, that cool air mass moving into the eastern Corn Belt, highs only in the 50s and 60s in that area today and tomorrow. 80s start to repopulate across the northern high plains over the weekend, with warmer air starting to slowly moderate back across the central and eastern parts of the Corn Belt there as we get into Tuesday. Temperatures right about where they should be across the entire Corn Belt, if not a little bit warmer as you head back toward the north and central part of the region. So again, that is the pattern. A great harvest weather as we head through the next 7 to 10 days. If you're there, we're going to be keeping things pretty dry, pretty quiet, pretty calm across the region, just dealing with some shots of cooler air, especially across portions of the east. Have a great day. A wonderful weekend. This is the look at your lows. I forgot that I threw this in here, just talking about the potential for some frost with this most recent shot of cool air. On the top, you're looking at the Saturday morning temperatures, so overnight tonight into Saturday morning, perhaps flirting with sub-freezing temperatures across parts of Wisconsin and lower Michigan, maybe northern Indiana flirting with some sub-freezing temperatures. I think this would be my region to watch kind of along and south of this, or along and north of that line here overnight tonight. And then Sunday, the coolest temperatures pivot off toward the northeast. So just a slight risk for some freezing temperatures across parts of Wisconsin, Michigan, maybe northern Indiana, and possibly on the extreme end, portions of east central Illinois flirting with some 30s there, but sub-freezing temperatures should stay well north of the area. Wisconsin, lower Michigan, that's my best bet there. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Have a great day, a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you again on Monday morning.